Hello, welcome to the channel. My name is Josh and you're watching Our History. Today we're having a look at the life of Elizabeth Maria Molteno, who was a prominent South African figure in the late 19th and early 20th centuries as a successful teacher and activist that challenged the societal norms of the era. So if you enjoy this, please be sure to like, and if you're new here, consider smashing the subscribe button. If this isn't your first rodeo and you haven't shown some love to the subscribe, now is your opportunity. Thank you for watching. Elizabeth Maria Molteno, born on the 24th of September 1852, was an early South African British activist for civil and women's rights in South Africa and passed away on the 25th of August 1927. Early life. Elizabeth Molteno was born into a prominent family of Italian descent in Cape Town, with her father John Molteno serving as the first Prime Minister of the Cape. Growing up among 18 siblings, she had a privileged upbringing on her family's estate in Claremont, where she received her education. Her father's frequent travels for diplomatic and business purposes allowed Elizabeth to accompany him on trips to Italy and London, sparking her interest in politics and current affairs. This early exposure to international travel and political discussions shaped her worldview and contributed to her eventual involvement in influential circles in business and government. Betty, as she preferred to be called, was fiercely intelligent, with a strong personality and an extraordinary memory. Born in the Victorian era, she developed unconventional views and habits for a girl of her time. She abandoned the fine clothes and material privileges of her youth, opting for a simple lifestyle, rough clothes, and vegetarianism. She showed more interest in science and politics than marriage and men, claiming to be spiritual but non-religious, and held firm beliefs in gender and racial equality. She chose not to marry but to pursue further studies at Newnham College, Cambridge, where she continued to challenge societal norms. Educationalist. In the 19th century, women had limited career options, but Elizabeth was a trailblazing woman. As a teacher and principal, made a significant impact on girls' education. She led the Collegiate School for Girls in Port Elizabeth, where she challenged the traditional Victorian education system. She introduced progressive teaching methods and expanded the curriculum beyond the conventional subjects considered appropriate for women. Her dedication to the girls' education was so unwavering that she declined to receive a salary for her influential administrative and educational contributions. Political activism. Elizabeth Molteno was a vocal opponent of the Anglo-Boer War, leading to her dismissal from her job. Anti-war activists like her were often branded as pro-Boer and faced intense social pressure. In Port Elizabeth, the white community was largely pro-British, and Miss Molteno's refusal to cease her protests ultimately led to her resignation, despite receiving support from former students and colleagues. She returned to Cape Town in 1899 and played a crucial role as a founding member of the South African Conciliation Committee. Together with Emily Hobhouse and Olive Schreiner, she organized mass meetings to protest the war and its subsequent ethnic divisions, drawing thousands of attendees. She worked tirelessly on humanitarian and anti-war causes during and after the Boer War, advocating for the Boer women and children interned in British concentration camps and the devastation of Boer farmlands. She also formed a lasting friendship with Alice Green, with whom she shared similar views and commitment to anti-war activism. Her contributions had a significant impact on the social and political landscape of the time. After the war, Elizabeth opposed the radical political changes in South Africa and relocated to England. It was there that she encountered Gandhi in 1909, with whom she formed a friendship and maintained regular correspondence in the following decades. During her time in London, she also became involved in the suffragette movement and aligned herself with its more radical leaders, including Christabel Pankhurst. Elizabeth became known for her advocacy of non-racialism and her skills as a public speaker and writer. Her return to South Africa in 1912 marked the beginning of her active involvement in various social causes. Her eloquence and social status made her a sought-after speaker for public meetings on non-racialism. Additionally, her writings in British and South African publications garnered attention for their radical and anti-imperialistic perspectives. Emily Hobhouse, a contemporary, praised Elizabeth's ability to articulate moral and spiritual aspects with exquisite language. Elizabeth remained a close ally of the Gandhis, actively supporting their Satyagraha campaign by moving to Phoenix Settlement and purchasing a cottage nearby. She was instrumental in facilitating meetings between Gandhis and influential political figures in South Africa, including John Dube and General Botha. In her speeches, she encouraged Indians to identify with Africa, and her efforts were acknowledged by Gandhi himself, who credited her as a peacemaker for enabling him to connect with powerful individuals in the country. Elizabeth was a passionate advocate for political and land rights for black South Africans. She collaborated with prominent black leaders such as John Dube and Sol Plaatje, and joined various campaigns in support of these causes. In addition, she took a stand against the abuse of prisoners by the South African police force, working with beaten and abused prisoners and testifying at inquests. Her advocacy extended to lobbying against the neglect of Mrs. Gandhi and visiting a severely beaten Satyagrahi, who ultimately died of his injuries. Her involvement in legal proceedings concerning his treatment exemplified her commitment to seeking justice for the oppressed. Elizabeth was a strong advocate for women's rights and a dedicated supporter of the women's suffrage movement. She actively worked with female passive resistors from diverse racial and cultural backgrounds in South Africa, and frequently spoke at movement meetings. Her vision for a future multiracial South Africa included an important role for women in all aspects of society. During World War I, she worked with conscientious objectors in England alongside her friends Emily Hobhouse and Olive Schreiner. While she initially focused on women's rights and representation, the Russian Revolution sparked her hopes for a broader emancipation of humanity. She envisioned a future without distinctions for race, gender, or religion, and expressed her desire for a society that embraced wider, broader, and deeper conceptions of humanity. She passed away in 1927 in southern England, leaving behind a legacy of influence and progressive values. Molteno's causes, which were ahead of her time, took decades to gain widespread acceptance, particularly in South Africa. Despite her significant impact, her role in promoting these causes was largely forgotten. However, Molteno's contributions to South African society have been recognized posthumously, with many regarding her as one of the most remarkable and influential women of her generation. Her legacy continues to inspire and shape the country's social and political landscape. If you made it this far, I hope you're really enjoying this channel, and if you'd like to support the creation of more content like this, because all contributions are greatly appreciated, consider joining the channel in the membership tab or check out the Patreon link in the description below.